Hi, my name is Nic Redman. I'm a voice coach and speaking director, and I'm here on the Be with Anna brand, accidentally headbanging quite a lot, but also talking about my job. Please stay, watch, enjoy.
So we were chatting downstairs,
Yeah.
and she said that she's noticed that she chats on the phone too quickly, and so someone's actually brought it up and she said, look, you're literally going like 100 miles an hour on the telephone, and she says, do you know what? It's because she is so like she's running the show.
Yeah.
She's the ops director, and I don't know how she does everything that she does, in fact, but when she's on the phone to whoever, she's always thinking about the next thing that she has to do, and she's not realising that it's actually coming through in the way she talks.
Oh, I see.
Is her eagerness to be getting off the phone so she can carry on doing
The next thing.
yeah. And so her question, and I thought, right, I'm going to ask you that.
Right, here we go.
Her question,
Straight in there.
she just said to me, I don't know how to stop doing it. And she said, how do I slow my speech down without sounding condescending? So she said, every time I try to slow down, I feel like I'm going a bit like that, and I'm starting to sound a little bit condescending.
So unpacking that's interesting. So from my point of view as a voice coach, there are many angles with this. Take goes down. The first one is speed is not always bad. There's this whole thing that circles around public speaking. Which
Was that your watch?
it was, yeah, just so everyone know it's noon.
It's noon, everyone.
It's noon. Let's go. Yeah, all speed is not bad, right? And a lot of people say, oh, in order to be a really good speaker, you gotta like slow down and be low and like do this with your hands and all this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And that's not my approach, and we'll probably get into that. But so the first thing I'd be asking is thinking about the why. So you've talked a little bit about the why. She's very busy, she's got lots to do, she's always thinking about the next thing. So I would be thinking, okay, how can we manage that in terms of a mindset before you start the call? Step one.
Yes.
The other thing is, of course, exploring options for speed in terms of comfort. So we could do some exercises about going even faster, and then some exercises going really slow, and finding on the spectrum of fast to slow where it's comfortable for her and that particular speaking situation. And then the third thing is, I'd probably want to investigate that whole why do they think slow is condescending? Like, where does that come from? Because sometimes, well, all times you have to unpack some of the judgments you make about certain types of speaking. So why does she think that slow is condescending? Why does she think fast is bad? And everything in between.
Yeah, so I guess it's not bad that she's speaking fast. It's maybe just like you say, the mindset thing. So that makes perfect sense. So she's already got in her mind something which is causing her, is not necessarily the speed, but the way in which she is sounding to sound that way, when in actual fact, if she just thought about that before she picks the phone up. I love that.
Yeah, because everything's in context, right? I speak fast most of the time, but that's because I'm Northern Irish. Like, we all speak fast. I've got a lot to say, very passionately as well. Thank you very much.
A lot to say.
So I do speak quite fast. There's only a problem with that if the people listening don't understand what I'm saying. If I'm speaking so fast that nobody can understand. And so far, that doesn't tend to happen. The odd time I'm like, well, what's crack's going on, or whatever. If I'm with my family or something, I might get a bit kind of a little bit too fast. So the other thing you can think about is the technical element of, well, if you're a fast speaker because of your culture or your personality or your job or whatever the context is, how do we make sure that your voice is prepared to keep up with that speed? So if you are speaking fast, but your tongue's working well, your jaw's released, your lips are working, your breath's supported, there's no reason why there's any issues with clarity or anything. So it's never just as easy as slow down and be a real good speaker. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Every decision you make about how you speak has to serve the purpose of that speaking. So if she's slowing down just because somebody somewhere has said, love, you speak too fast, because they for some reason can't understand, then I would be saying, that might not be the answer. If they're doing surveys with their customers and all the customers are saying, the person on the phone speaks too fast, we can't understand, then, there's something to investigate in terms of speed. But there's lots of different ways in. There's no one simple answer, really.
It's so interesting.
Because everyone's different.
It's so interesting.
Well, I think so.
It is. It's, like I say, I had to go and just disrupt the office a little bit downstairs and talk about it. You can hear me from the other end of the building. But we all, the girls downstairs were both talking about it because I'd mentioned, they already knew which guest was coming on and what it was about. And it's literally had everybody talking about the different ways in which you talk and then about accents. And then obviously we got onto the phone call, and then Amelia was like, what about people, with stammers? Like, do you work with people with stammers, or is that like an entirely different thing again?
That tends to be more of a clinical angle.
Yeah.
So speech and language therapy. So my training as a voice coach, I have a master's degree in voice studies, which is...
Did you even know that was a thing?
I know, right? Who knew? Got one. Just about, but I got it. But that's more of a clinical thing. So my training is diagnostic to a point, so I can hear where it feels like there's an issue with the vocal technique to the point where there might be damage or injury, and I can refer on and pass on to colleagues and say, you need to go the clinical route first and then maybe come to me for something a little bit more rehabilitatory. But stammers and things, it's definitely worth going to somebody in a clinical sort of speech and language therapy environment.
And what about nerves? So obviously this is how many times you must get asked that, but I don't get nervous in this kind of setting because it's conversational, and yet I was speaking to people and they're the complete flip side of the coin to me. So I don't get nervous if it's conversational and you're just going to ask me organic questions and they're not even if you send me a list of questions, I'm going to overthink those questions. But if you just ask me them off the cuff, I'm so much more relaxed and I'll just have a chat. But yet in an environment where I have to do a presentation and things like that, which I do, I'm learning slowly how to stop trying to change the way that I talk. And it was making me, because I was overthinking it, and because it's sort of it's more organised, which it has to be, it's more structured. And I was finding that I was overthinking it and thinking that I had to memorise every single thing that I had to say, and then that was making me get really nervous, and then I felt like I lost my personality completely.
Have you found a way through?
I'm starting to, and I think the way through has been being more me. We're just being more me instead of trying to... Which is like
both super courageous and really hard when you're in that environment. You're doing the right thing though. Like, again, there is no one size fits all when it comes to public speaking training, voice training. Everybody is different. Even from event to event, there might be different circumstances, different tech requests or requirements, all that kind of thing. And I think ultimately, when you're first starting on that journey, because there's so much to contend with all of the time, you have to come at it from as close to you as possible and not try and fit into like I said, these are the things that make you be a really good public speaker. Like, I see people often who've had training or coaching, or they've thought about it and made decisions, and sometimes it feels like the decision's been made because they need to do something, i.e. I've been told I need more range, so I will go up at this point and then I will come down the stairs. Or it'll be someone's told me that I really should pause more.
The pause thing,
those kinds of things. And it's not that range and pausing are not good, but there's no one way to do it.
Yeah.
And like every single decision you make about how you use your voice, where you go on the stage, the words you use, whether you use slides or don't use slides, whether you learn it off by heart, whether you use bullet points, whatever it is, whether you fly by the seat of your pants, every decision you make has to serve you and your comfort as a speaker and also the story you're telling.
Yeah.
So depending on the environment I'm speaking in, I may have some slides because they require them, or I may not. I may be off the cuff, a bit workshoppy, a bit masterclassy, and then I can, respond to the room and what's happening, or it may be a bit organised, a bit more process and kind of structure driven. And it's all the stuff that makes me feel comfortable for that environment, but also gives me the best chance to do what I do best, which is, that's what they call it, edutainment. There's an element of information in teaching, and there's an element of having a bit of crack, because it sort of come from a performance and a comedy background, so I always bring a bit of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to my world.
So you've got a comedy background in what sense?
Stand up.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm married to one. That was a mistake. Yeah, big mistake. Next time I'm marrying for love.
That's
no.
Honestly,
next time I'm marrying for money. Next time I'm marrying for money. I'm married for love this time. Terrible scenes.
I love that. That's really so, because Alfie Joey.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
know
got
him from the stand-up scene
honestly?
15 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then I went off and did other things and came back, and we met again on the networking scene up here.
That's so interesting. It obviously brings just something to it. And I can see that now in you. There's this, oh wow, I love that.
And especially for what Alfie does, like he's so good at his job, and he's such a good host, and he's such an amazing trainer when it comes to helping people find their story and tell their story in a really interesting, like, individual way. Shout out Alfie. He was like your first guest, wasn't he?
He was. He's such a legend. I love him so much.
All right, don't talk about him too much.
We'll talk about him when the camera's
okay.
off. Yeah.
So I started in the West End. Well, making my way to the West End. I had one show I did in the Fringe that transferred, and I got a wee bit of time in the West End. I was doing musical theatre, and that was fine, but it was a bit like, it wasn't quite the dream that my little girl self had thought it would be. You think you'll be the lead and everything's amazing, then you get there and turns out you're too tall to play the lead. You know what I mean? All the leads are, at that time, 20 years ago, like 5'4", tiny little wafy ingenues, and that is not what I am. So then they're like, oh, don't worry, in 10 years you'll be great at all the character parts. I'm like, I don't want the parts in 10 years, I want the parts now. So I was getting jobs and it was fine, but it wasn't hugely fulfilled. And then I ended up doing a voiceover job for somebody. At some point, somebody needed a Northern Irish voice. So I tootled along to this wee studio and did a voiceover job, totally like faking it till I'm making it, because I hadn't done one before. And I did the job. It was for something to do with constipation medication, I think, for children. It was very glamorous. I did it, and I stepped out of the booth, and the guy was like, great, you've done that in 15 minutes, can I have an early dinner? I was like, oh my God, that was my first time. And he was like, oh, well, clearly you have a knack for this. So I was like, okay. So I followed that little thread, and I was just so liberated and excited and curious about that world, because all of a sudden it wasn't like, you sound great but you look right, you're not right for this, or whatever it is. It was just about my voice. And I was like, this is really exciting. And I followed that, and I did voiceover, and then at the time I was missing performing and stuff, and I've always liked to laugh, so I did a stand-up course and ended up doing a bit of stand-up for a few years, to the point where I got paid for it. Like, it was good, it was happening. And through that world I met my husband. He's still a stand-up, I'm not now. And then I got really curious, kept getting more curious about voice, and then 10 years ago went back to uni to do a third degree, second master's. Much to my mother's chagrin. And that was the one in voice. Wow. And that was like voice coach training, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then from there, 10 years ago, went through all the drama schools and taught voice and accents and text and things.
So you can do all the accents as well?
Well, yeah, I don't do accents anymore. I had sort of,
Can you do a Geordie accent?
Not on this podcast. I'm not putting myself up for that. Pet. Yeah, so I used to do that, but you find the bits of work that you enjoy and that really light you up, and it turned out to be more the technical voice stuff,
Yeah.
and helping people connect the voice to the words, which is like, you know, bread and butter for a voice coach in drama and acting world. And then when you get into the corporate world where I work more now, it's something that people haven't really thought about, which is really exciting and really interesting for me, because a lot of the time I've written this really good speech, or these days ChatGPT's written this really speech, and it's about going, okay, these are the words, this is your voice, how do we connect them in a way that makes you be the best storyteller up there as you possibly can, whether that's telling the story of, you know, the last quarter's figures, or whether that's, you know, really bossing a keynote for an industry conference, or being a podcast host and telling your story on a podcast, or that 60-second story of your pitch for investment, all that kind of thing. So it's really, my method is like voice first, and it's like the voice, the words, and then the delivery, and how that all comes together.
Do you find, because I've definitely thought this and felt this, and I know that other people do, about the accents, like feeling like I've already lost because I've got a Geordie accent, people are going to think I'm stupid.
Funny enough, that's one of the reasons I veered away from accents, because part of that job was teaching accents to actors, which is fine, but it's quite on call. They think you're like a doctor or something, and they call you at like 8 p.m. going, I've got to sound like I'm from Venezuela tomorrow, and I'm like, I can't do that, I'm in the bath. So that was annoying when I had my son and everything, and my husband's out quite a lot in the evenings because of work, gigs and things, so I was like, this isn't working logistically. But at the same time, I was getting real riled at, number one, I'm just going to say this, teaching actors from the south to sound like they're from the north, because there are enough brilliant actors up here. That was really, with respect to everybody, that was really starting to annoy me. And I know everybody can play everything, but there is an uneven spread, and that was annoying me. And then the other thing is, I would get a lot of people coming to me going, my boss says I won't get this promotion unless I lose my Scouse accent or something. I did one job with a guy, a journalist, that's not the right word, a reporter who used to report live in the field from conflict zones. And he used to work for the BBC, and then he got headhunted for a larger international TV station. And they headhunted him because he was at the BBC, and they hired him from the BBC because that's what they wanted. Now, he had an Asian Midlands accent, and he got to this channel, which is based in the Middle East, and they said, we need you to sound more like you're from the BBC. And what they meant was, not like you've got a Midlands Asian accent.
Wow.
And well, that was an interesting one, because he didn't want to lose it either, because it's his identity, and also it's how he sounded at the BBC, and it was one of his USP exciting, lovely things, and the reason the BBC liked him. So we ended up working on, cleverly and kind of ninja style, not on losing the accent, but on other elements that would appease the new employer so that he still felt connected to his culture and his identity, but he didn't lose his job, because that's where it had got to. They were like, you don't sound right. Right?
It's making me think of like, so I've honestly just been, my mind for the last week has just been thinking about voice.
Welcome to my brain.
Oh, I can only imagine. But it's so many things as well that we don't think about, that I've now started to think about. Like voices, it's everything. It's not, not even just if you're doing, a podcast or a speaking gig. It's literally down to how you would speak to your customers on the telephone.
Well, this is it. I mean, we talk about presentation skills training, or communications training, all that kind of stuff. You're always pitching yourself. My friend Kate Cocker, shout out Kate Cocker, I'm an associate coach for her. She has a company called The Presenter Coach.
Oh, okay.
So I come in and do the voicey stuff, she does the presenting stuff. And she always says that you're always pitching yourself all of the time, to colleagues, friends, the higher ups, your team, if it's in that corporate structure, or if you're a podcast host, you're actually pitching yourself and your thoughts and your ideas to an audience member for the first time when they listen to you for the first time. So we're always using our voice in a way that is selling something about ourselves, whether it's literally your service or whether it's you as a human or your ideas. And for my money, you know, if I had a manifesto, it's that like voice is not taught enough. Like it needs to be in schools.
100%.
And yes, debate club, that doesn't even happen anymore. It's communication, like using the instrument that you have, that you were born with, that we all take for granted. Like it's an assumed skill, right? Because you get up in the morning and you say, Mum, can I have some cereal? Okay, I've got my voice, I've used my voice, why do I need to train it? But there's so much you can do with it and it's so exciting. And there are also so many things that can happen to it that mean it's not working as efficiently for you as it could. You know, you talk about accents and things and voices, like everything about my voice is connected to my upbringing, my education, my culture, the parenting style, the household I grew up in.
Yeah, even just the sound. It tells a story about you.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
And I think so much of voice is tied up in identity. And when people get in that space where they're doing a speaking gig or they're on a podcast, they get really nervous, obviously, because they want to be the best version of themselves. But I don't think they realise is what's bubbling up underneath that is all this identity stuff, you know, like, how do I sound? So many people I work with don't like how they sound, which is, you know, such a huge shame.
It took me ages. I wasn't even going to listen. I wasn't even going to listen or watch any of the stuff that I put out because I was so terrified of just hearing. I hated my voice, hated how it sounded, hated the accent, just everything. And I just refused to listen to it until I realised how ridiculous it was, because Alfie was saying, so the way to get better or the way to learn how to do more or do less of something is you've got to obviously listen to it. And then I listened to it and thank God, because I realised that I'm like going, like you would in a normal conversation when someone's talking, which is horrendous to listen to. I've got to just be silent.
But still be engaged and listening.
But yeah. So that took me ages to get used to, and I was having to really overthink it. Whereas now I've learned it, I'm not overthinking it anymore.
And it's a real skill as a host to be able to do that and let me know that you're listening without being weird about it as well. I did a podcast once, and the person was so quiet, but so intensely, physically, like facially, letting me know that they were listening. I was like absolutely terrified. They were like.
But then sometimes you would feel like that they're kind of waiting to speak again. Sometimes when people do that, you think you're waiting for me to finish this sentence because you know what your next question is going to be, rather than just actually communicating.
We're always thinking about our next wee bit and how we can be part of the communication, isn't it? And that's what's interesting, funnily enough, about what you say about the person on the phone, because they're always thinking about what they should be doing. And there is an element of trying to be present in conversations all the time, which we are not practiced at anymore, because we're always multitasking terribly, but we're always doing it and thinking about what's coming next. I've got one friend who people are often a bit like taken aback when they speak to her, because she is so with you and so present, and you are the only person in her orbit when you're talking to her, and it is the most beautiful and like generous thing you can do as a listener and a friend. But for a lot of people now, it's like, she's really intense.
Yeah.
But she will just be like, just with you. And it just doesn't happen a lot anymore. So I do feel like we are, as humans, there is like a bit of a listening issue as well these days, you know?
Yeah.
Everything is quite, we're just always moving on to the next thing.
Totally.
And it is very hard to stay present in conversations. So I suppose one of the things, going back to this person downstairs, is that like, how can we help them to be present in what's happening there and manage the fact that they can't do anything about what they've got to do in 5 minutes. You can only be on that phone call doing that one thing. So
absolutely. And that's, I think you can tell, I don't like that whole, well, it's not that I don't like it, but when you're listening to something and you know that it's very question based, as in, they've thought about the exact questions that they want to ask, they know what they want to get out of their guest, then I feel like it's just a bit forced. And then I feel like you've got your guest on there for a specific reason. Like, I want them to teach my audience that. And it becomes like too transactional instead of...
There's a balance, isn't there?
Yeah.
I think. I have done many podcasts now. I love it. I'm very happy to talk about what I do. And if you want to give me the questions, that's great. If you don't want to give me the questions, that's fine. But I also know people who guest who really freak out if they don't have the questions because they're less experienced or they're newer to their business and they don't quite have their patter down yet. And from an interview point of view, I've also done situations where they have the questions and they go, you answer the question and they go, great, and on straight on to the next question.
Right.
But I've also done situations where they send you the questions, you have to think about them and stuff, and they do the first question and then they're like, well, feck that, like this is so much more interesting.
Exactly.
And off they go. Like there's loads of different versions. It's just all practice, isn't it? I think.
Yeah.
And getting used to it.
Yeah.
Like I host stuff, I'm trying to do a bit more hosting, and you know, I'll do like, I hosted a panel a wee while ago and I spoke to all 5 guests for like half an hour. I planned all the questions and I got it all organised and who I was going to ask everything to and all this stuff, and I sent it out, made sure everybody was happy and sent them everything, and then got in the room. First, had my clipboard, had my wee pen and all off we go. Asked the first question and I was like, huh, like there was no point, and it just went all over the place and it was so much better. And afterwards I was like, sorry, like I didn't ask you any of the questions that I said I was going to ask you, but I had to just follow the threads of what was happening. And they were all like, that's totally fine, because they were all really good, experienced guests. Now there could have been someone else on there who'd have been really freaked out by that.
Yeah.
So in a way that was not good of me as a host, but also you have to pick up what's happening, because if you're there listening, listening to a question be answered, and then you've got a question that's completely in the wrong direction, that you can't answer it. So it's actually a real challenge to get that right, which is why I love watching Alfie so much, because he's such a good host and he's so experienced at it. You have to be super present and really listening to everything all of the time, but also listening, thinking, what will I ask next? Like, I've got this question, and you're always kind of like computing with a sort of a flow chart. If they say this, I'll go this way, but if they say that, I'll go that way. I could pick up that person, and it's fascinating as a skill.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're the same. We go to a lot of networking events, and you see some people who are brilliant at it, and some people who are just crap.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame. If you've got good guests, you're fine, and you can often be saved. But sometimes, it can be panels can be a bit rubbish.
But actually, that's made me think about the fact that, because I know that, like I was just saying before, I prefer the organic. Don't give me a scripted, because I'll freak out. Whereas I know people who are the complete opposite, and they don't do well in the organic, and they'll freak out if they don't have scripted questions. So obviously I want people to feel comfortable coming here, and I would hate for anybody to be freaking out because it's not scripted. So I guess I need to really think about that. But
you're also a really good interviewer, because you're completely present here and you're listening to everything I've said, and you've obviously been thinking about it, doing your research, deciding which ways you might go, and you're just listening to what I'm saying and you're giving me space to talk. So like it's a very dichotomous relationship being on a podcast, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I think the way you're doing it is really lovely, because you're just listening and picking up on what I'm saying, which naturally then takes me in a place where I'm comfortable to go, because I've led you there by accident, you know.
Wow. Well,
so
I'm gonna take.
I'll let you know when I grow.
I'm gonna take that and replay it in my car every time I go somewhere.
Can you imagine if I'd gone, yeah, you're shite?
You might say that when you come.
I really want to actually talk to you about your approach to this whole thing, because I don't think it's working.
She'll be like,
you're fired.
No. Shit podcast the other day.
Give me that hat. I'm taking over. It's true though.
That means a lot though.
That's all right.
Especially coming from you, it really does.
I talk about this a lot with people, you know, because I think as speakers, we're sometimes in this world where we think like it is all my responsibility for this to be a good communicative experience, and the truth of it is, it's not. I've only well, I feel like I'm gonna a bit emotional. I'm just coughing. This is where I stand up. Key change. Where was I?
See, that's what I do all the time.
Finding it. Oh yeah. And we're back. Do you edit this? Who knows? Yes. You, as a speaker, only have so much control over what the audience think of you and how they receive your information. I use accents as quite a good example of this actually, because we are quite judgmental about accents and voice, aren't we?
Totally.
It's human nature. Also, society makes us this way.
Yeah.
And we'll not go into that. So I can walk into a room and be like, well, what about you? What's the crack? And people are like, she's Northern Irish. Dee, we'll have a great time. Or I could walk into a room, which has happened, and been like, well, what about you? What's the crack? Oh, you're Northern Irish. My dad used to work for blah, blah, and I grew up in the blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
And we had somebody in such a thing, like, and it gets all a little
political.
Yeah. It's nothing I can do about that. Do you know what I mean? I like so I can be prepared, and I can know my topic, and I can plan, and I can think about what I'm doing from my, how do I want them to feel, what journey am I taking them on, what I want them to know, how do I want to motivate them to XYZ, whatever it is. And I can get in the room and them all be 3:30 p.m. on third day of conference, could not give a feck about, anybody could stand up there and do anything and it's not going to work. So you've only got so much control over it. And ultimately as listeners, and this is my plea to listeners, I suppose, as well, is like we can be more generous as listeners to the people on the speaking side. But look, you have to at some point relinquish yourself from the idea that this is all your responsibility. You could try your hardest and I'd just be like having a bad day and be like, yeah, so I did a master's degree in voice and now I help people with speaking.
Yeah, totally.
And so maybe that's nerves. Maybe somebody just is not used to the situation or is feeling a bit crappy about it. So like, I can only do so much.
Yeah. Also, and what I do say to people, well, I asked my kids to come on. One's 12, one's 19.
And how did that go?
They haven't done it yet.
Right. Do they want to?
The other one, well, my stepson, he's my third boy. He's 27, he will. Mm-hmm. Now my 12-year-old, the first thing he said was, well, he freaked out about, well, what am I going to say? And I was like, you don't need to worry about that because that's what I'm there for. And I thought, oh yeah, I am there for that. And I haven't really sort of thought about my role in that way before, but I have said it to a couple of guests thinking about it. You don't need to worry about what you're going to say or running out of things or awkward silences. I was like, that's what I'm there for. Like,
I don't think people worry about awkward silences though. I think they worry about how to answer the question.
Yeah.
Like I was prepping, I have a client at the moment who works in the charity sector in Newcastle, and they were on a panel, and I've been prepping them for various different those kinds of things, and this one was coming up, and actually I didn't have time to see them that much beforehand for that one. But they were like, I've not been given the questions. And I was like, well, how do you feel about that? Because just ask for them. They want you to be the best guest that you possibly can. So if you want the questions, they're probably absolutely fine. If you say, do you know what, I'm a bit nervous. It's a big room for me. Can you give me an idea of the talking points? Because all they'd been told was, similar to, I suppose, what you say, which is they just want to be conversational, but they'd said it in a bit more of a like flowery, wanky way. Sorry. What was in that tea?
I don't know, but
I got to drive home.
And
another thing.
I love the word wanky though, sorry.
Yeah, that comes up a lot in what I do. Anyway, I say just ask for them again if you want them. Because, you can't take ownership of yourself as a guest.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would always, like I said to you again, didn't I, yesterday? I couldn't remember because we booked this yonks ago. I was like, did you send me some talking points and specific questions? Because I can't remember.
Yeah. And
it would be useful if there were some that I could answer it properly. But you didn't, and that's fine. So I just said, look, ask again if you want. Like, it's okay.
Of course it is.
And everybody's, and as it turned out, they are so passionate and they know exactly what they want to talk about, and they were remarkable. And the people that I was at the table that day were like, I could listen to them all day. And I'm like, she's one of mine. Even though it's not me making her this brilliant, she's just brilliant. But I was like, she's doing it, she's great. And she didn't even get the questions.
Ollie was worried about, what am I going to talk about? And I was like, well,
that's what you're there for.
And also, that's what he's there for, the fact that he doesn't know what to talk about and how he's feeling a bit shy. I said, I think that'd be a really good way to get confidence and realise that actually a camera's just not scary at all.
Is that the youngest one?
Yeah, 12. My 19-year-old, I'm gonna ask him again. I will get him on. But purely because I just think it's a really like cool thing to get your kids to do something which is terrifying to most adults. And I think when you just overcome something like that, it's really beneficial.
And I wonder how kids feel about cameras these days, because they've got them in their face all the time.
Yeah. So my 19-year-old, they don't do video calls and he hates that type of thing. Whereas Ollie, 12, they're video calling each other all the time. Completely different era.
And apparently voice notes as well are a big thing with the youngsters. They're voice note themselves. And I love a voice note. So.
He won't do voice note.
Okay.
He categorically won't for some reason, but he'll put himself in front of a video and speak.
I will be encouraging my son, if and when he gets a smartphone, because he's not having one yet, to do...
How old is he?
He's 9.
Right.
To do voice notes all the time, mainly because you can't screenshot it. It can't be screenshot and sent somewhere. So from a security point of view and a privacy point of view, I'm like, do not write anything, just speak it, love.
I send you voice notes, because otherwise you would be reading about 17 pages of just to get to one simple
Actually, you'd
point.
love that. Would you not love that?
It'd be amazing, yeah.
But then someone did mention sometimes it's even worse with a voice note, because then you've got to go back and listen to it and just be like, so what was she talking about again? And then you'll have to listen to it.
I do have one friend in Newcastle who leaves, like they talk like 7-8 minutes. They'll just be in the car and they'll just do a voice note all the way.
Wow.
And I'm like, it's actually quite nice because their voice is gorgeous and I could listen to it all day. But yeah, it does mean if there's anything to like reference or respond to, it's tough.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Especially if it's going to be more than anything over a minute would be a nightmare. That's what I've just remembered I was going to say. You know, when you were talking about when you go into the room with like a Northern Irish accent, for example, that's probably also difficult for some people who are from Northern Ireland who aren't necessarily very bubbly and they're quite introvert, and then people might sort of put them into the category of, oh God, we're going to have a right laugh with this one because they're Irish. And then the pressure of that. So
living up to or not living up to the stereotype.
Yeah.
So fun. Yeah.
And the stereotype for a Geordie is that we're all thick as fuck.
Is it?
Yeah. Of course
See,
it is.
I don't agree.
Really?
Yeah, I don't agree. I think the stereotype, if there was one for Geordie, is warm and friendly.
Yeah, warm, friendly, up for a laugh.
Wow. Maybe then we've just got our own perception of how we think people.
Well, it has to have come from somewhere. So often,
if you watch the news when they go around and they pick the worst, thickest Geordie on the planet who literally can't even speak. What do you think about this? And they're just like, should we cut that bit out?
No.
Love you though. love the people here. You're one of them.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I don't think that's the stereotype. I think it's like friendly, up for a laugh, fiery, passionate.
Well, that's
very
nice
proud
things.
People, very proud of their identity.
But both of us think a very similar thing, but we're both of us not originally from
Yeah?
here, whereas you're born and bred, aren't you?
You're wrong, babes. No.
Oh,
That's your opinion. It's totally valid.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's about examining where it's come from. So you know the way everyone thinks the stereotype of the Birmingham accent is uneducated.
Yes.
Which is nonsense, by the way. That comes from... I used to do a podcast called the Voiceover Social Podcast, and we...
what happened to it?
We sold it.
Oh, really?
Got nominated for a British Podcast Award in the same category as Stephen Bartlett. Stop it, it's no big deal. Didn't win, but neither did he.
Let's just cut that out.
Clang! We just did it for ages. It got really big within the voiceover industry, and then it was taking a lot of time and we loved it, but it just wasn't serving where we were going, so we sold it on to some friends.
That's awesome.
And I retired. And I bought some cheese. We spoke to this linguist about why the Birmingham accent has that reputation. And it's because the first time the majority of people in the early days of radio and radio drama, and this is from the mouth of the wonderful linguist David Crystal, so it's true, it's not fake news, is that the first time most people heard it on the wireless was in a radio drama where the actor, whose name I can't remember, was playing a character who was a bit silly and uneducated, and to play that role, they chose a Birmingham accent. So the first time when people were living in their own towns and had never really travelled that much and they hadn't experienced the Birmingham culture or the people or the accents or anything like that, the first time a lot of people heard it was a woman taking the mickey out of it on the radio and using it for a uneducated character. And that's where it started. That was the seed.
And then we've grown up with our Wiedersehen pet. And then it was a similar thing there, wasn't it? The Brummie there he was sort of portrayed as being a bit...
Yeah, exactly. And that sort of just compounded the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love accents.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
Where else in the world can you go and travel an hour down the road and everyone sounds totally different?
Yeah.
It's absolutely mental.
I mean, Ireland is another one. We very different accents depending on...
Village to village sometimes.
Village to village, religion to religion. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of changes there, which is cool, really cool.
In Scotland as well. You can go from like Glasgow to Edinburgh to the Highlands. I remember the first time I went to the Highlands and I was so convinced that in the Highlands, because it's the Highlands, you know, and it's right in the middle of nowhere, and remote, and I thought that accent was going to be stronger there than in obviously Glasgow. It's a complete opposite way. They're actually quite well-spoken Scottish in the Highlands, and then you go to Glasgow and it's like Glaswegians, really raw.
And that's an interesting phrase, isn't it? Well-spoken, like who decided that?
Exactly. Someone called me well-spoken the other day. It was another Geordie. He said, were you born in the northeast? And I said, yeah. He says, you're really he actually said you're quite posh. Really? Compared to what?
Was he selling you something?
I always question that because, like, with respect, who are we to decide what's well-spoken or not?
Yeah.
And actually, if you really investigate it, it's not your opinion. It's the opinion of what the general media has sort of imprinted in us over the years.
It's because it's Queen's English, isn't it? Queen's English.
Yeah,
so if you don't talk like the
of.
Queen, then you're not posh and thick.
And even that's changing though, because the royals coming through, not that I want to give the royals any airtime, the royals coming through sound very, very different.
Yeah. This isn't just because you're here. Genuinely, like, the Irish accent is my favourite.
Yeah, we are the best one.
It is just, I just love it. So I could listen all day to you. Like, you could just recite the alphabet and shit, and I would just listen to it.
B, C, D.
That's the thing with the A's and the E's. A-E sounds quite similar when I say it. So whenever I'm on the phone to a non-Geordie and I say NE24, for example, you know, postcode, and they'll be like, A or E? And I'm like, E. And it still sounds A, so I end up having to go E for, and then I can never remember any of it. E for egg.
Sounds real. E for excellent.
E for envelope.
E for envelope.
And they can't tell the difference between my A's and E's.
Well, and that's you talking about the letters, written letters,
say
right?
A, yeah, say
because
A and E.
In accent terms, phonemically, A and E can combine, or depending on the word, sound very different. So, egg versus fleece.
Yeah.
Those are all E's.
Yeah. You say A and E?
A and E.
See, they're quite different, because you're like A and E.
You see, everybody when I first moved up here thought I was posh.
Did they?
Yeah. Don't sound so surprised.
There's an example, like, we couldn't be more opposite, as in the speed that we talk, obviously dialect, even nature, like opposites, but I feel Neil like calms me down. So if I'll come in like and then by the time I've had a couple of minutes with Neil, I'm like, I feel quite calm now. And Neil's got a really calming, but even if you've got something really exciting to say, you would still say it just in that calm way that you say it. Whereas if I'm excited, I'm like that. Yeah. Like, exactly. And I think I look at you and think, how do you keep so calm? Even if you're really angry. Do you ever get really, really angry?
You need to get Neil on the podcast.
I'm really heavily medicated. No,
It's drugs. It's full on drugs. You need to get him here.
I know he has been on, but we need another one.
Needs to do another one, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. I find that really interesting as well. How do I still be me when I'm doing a presentation or a workshop?
So what parts of you do you feel like are not you at the moment?
All of it.
Okay, we're going to need some time. That's the show for now. So the first thing I think is working out the version of you that you want to be up there and how that serves the audience and what you need from the audience, really. Mm-hmm. So I always say, who are you talking to, what are you talking about, and why are you talking about it? And how do you serve that?
Yeah.
I think my rhetoric around finding who you are as a speaker is less around the words we hear all the time, like confident and authentic, and gravitas and impact, and because they don't mean anything to the people that come and ask for them, because I'll be like, what do you mean by impactful? And I'll be like, and then the interesting stuff comes out, because impactful means all. So I'm all about getting you comfortable, feeling comfortable and competent using your voice and with your material, so that when you're up there you don't have to worry about who you are or what you're doing. You actually don't have to make any decisions about who you are because you're comfortable and competent up there. So a lot of that is about, management of the nerves or the situation. It's investigating the parts of yourself that excite you and that bring you joy and that you want to share with other people, and thinking about the bits that you feel sabotage you, or investigating who it is you become at the moment that doesn't feel like you, and how we can flip that around. But it's mostly about feeling comfortable and competent, and the truth about that, I'm afraid, is practice.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the easier it gets.
So I guess it's going to be...
Easy's not the right word, but the more comfortable it gets and the more competent you feel.
Yeah. Because I've met people in real life that I've only sort of, like, say, listened to their podcast, or I've seen them do quick reels, talk about the business, whatever it is, and then met them in real life and be like, oh my God, you're completely different. And actually, if you came across more like that, I would be way more likely to buy from you. Yeah, and that's what I find that happens a lot. And actually, when you really investigate it, it is a big brand problem. Like, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a brand, you've worked with someone to get your gorgeous logo and all the fonts you're going to use, and you've got someone to help you with socials and someone to work on your brand voice when you write and all this kind of stuff. And you are, in those interactions, in that process, my brand is vibrant and exciting and interesting and curious and a bit fun and bubbly. And then the speaking to camera for reels bit comes and they go, hi, I'd really love to talk to you about why it's really good to use blue as as your colour for this month, or whatever it is. You sounded a bit American there. Like and subscribe. Then that's a total clash. And it has happened to me where I've seen people's imagery and their brands and everything, and I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. And then they arrive and they're like, hello, or whatever, and you're like, oh, what's happened there? Or you see their socials and you're like, God damn it, you are clearly amazing and you're doing amazing work, but when you show up on camera, something is holding you back. But isn't it that it's because you're not talking to another human? So as soon as you've got a bit of technology and you're supposed to talk to it like a human. Well, this is why I get really annoyed with people being all, how to be authentic on camera, because it's not an authentic environment. Standing up to speak on stage is not a natural thing for humans. We're pack creatures. Yeah, it's the most unnatural thing. Yeah, if you stick your head up, it's getting bitten off by a woolly mammoth or whatever. So we're not instinctively used to beings who want to do that. So trying to be authentic on camera is nonsense if you're new, because you can't do it because it's not an authentic thing to do. So it's about understanding there is a skill to it and a craft to it, and I think honestly the main thing, as dull as it is just practice. People don't practice enough and they expect a lot from themselves
which is really unfair on yourself actually. And if you're doing content for the first time, you're starting a business or you're pitching or whatever, you have to really practice. And I mean, like, talk to yourself on your morning walk, talk to yourself in the shower, in the car, on the loo, practice how you answer questions. I think people get stuck in, I'll write this amazing script, or AI's written me this brilliant script, and then they get on to do it and it just doesn't sound natural because it's been written by a robot.
Especially that's a good point actually, because if people are getting AI to write it, so unless you've trained AI insanely well and you're good at it, it's not going to sound like you. And then you're expected to just stand in front of a camera and start saying something that somebody else has written for you or something else has written for you and supposedly be authentic.
Make it sound human.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. I did a job, right, where 2 people from this institution were opening the graduations for the year for their cohorts of training. They both were doing the same job, one on the Tuesday, one on the Wednesday. They didn't know about each other, they didn't know each other. They'd both been given the same brief, and they'd both been given 3 sessions with me. And I said, can you come with your draft script? We've only got 3 sessions and we'll work on it, because we'll do the voice, then we'll do the words, and we'll piece it together. They both came with their draft scripts, and they were both, I swear to God, I wish I'd kept them, nearly identical, because they'd both just taken the brief and put it into AI, and it just spat this thing out. And they both came, and I was like, so what's the problem? How are you feeling? I just don't feel like me. Like, I find it really hard to say. It doesn't feel natural. And I'm like, how did you write the script? And they were like, we didn't write the script. The robots wrote the script. And I was like, well, how is it going to sound like you if you didn't fucking write it?
Oh, man.
And by the end of it, we pulled it apart, and I kept the bits that they wanted to keep, but we put them into it. I did a session this week actually about writing tips for speaking better, speaking well, speaking whatever, flow, I can't remember. It's been a long week. But it was basically my approach, which is don't write, i.e. type it. Please don't get a machine to do it, at least not the first draft, because it will not sound like you. Speak it to write it. So the great thing we have now is transcription. From an accessibility tool, but also from just a quick writing tool. So speak what you want to say for your first draft, and then play around with it, tidy it up, practice it. Because what you get then is thoughts that are your thoughts, that are formed in a way that you connect to, that your breath can already support. So you're kind of baking in to the writing delivery help. Because a lot of the time people are like, oh, I run out of breath on stage, or like, I don't know how much breath to take, or it doesn't flow, or people start speaking in 4-word chunks because someone's told them they should slow down. And you get this feeling that every sentence has exactly the same rhythm and intonation. And they really think it's making them the best speaker.
That was brilliant.
That's my impression of what's happening, what seems to happen in the search for authenticity. That feels really mean.
I love you.
I'm just frustrated for people. So the point is, if you write it by speaking it, get your transcription on, lie on the sofa, get in the bath, do it on the loo, do it on your walk. I write a lot of stuff when I'm walking in the countryside. And yeah, it gets a bit another thing, and yeah, it's a bit clunky, and sometimes it gets the words wrong, but what you get is these thoughts that match how you think. And that's how you sound natural and authentic, because they are your thoughts. They're not written to the confines of structure and grammatical convention, because that doesn't read well. It reads well like this. What amazing sentences. I don't need breath to do this. Look at all those lovely commas and grammar. But actually, when you're speaking, grammar can fuck off. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It sort of doesn't matter. But like, it's different, because what you get in like spoken speech is grammar, is commas where there might not be commas on the page, or commas where you don't need them. And then you read and you sometimes honor that punctuation in a way that doesn't help you with the delivery. So my thing is, find who you are by using your voice. Write using your voice, and then learn. And that's a really good way to feel more like you.
Yeah.
So, and if you are somebody who doesn't need to write because you just want, off the cuff, that's totally fine. You just have to practice loads. and record yourself and listen back.
Yeah.
And actually transcribe yourself and look at it on the page and go, oh God, I say that word a lot, or wow, that's a long sentence. What does that mean for the emotion in that part? What does that mean for how I might deliver that? You know, do I need drive and climax? Do I need some pauses? Do I need to make that into shorter chunks because it'll be easier for people to digest? So voice first for me all the way.
And that's just
Brilliant.
honestly, really.
Thank you.
I'm speechless.
It's all, yeah, and like methods are all up for debate and in flux, right? And my training as a voice coach is always, this is what we know right now. This is what is working right now, but research might change, and you know what I mean? But at the moment, I am feeling just this railing, that we have to rail against this. I'll just get AI to write it. It's not, you are not going to feel authentic and like you. And that's what's happening most for me.
Yeah.
With all clients from all over the place. You have to put the time in.
It's so interesting when you were talking about schools, because and using your voice in school. I remember coming home and just being a different person at home. I hated school, especially when I was much in first school, for example. I was a different I'd come home and then my voice would appear, because that's where you feel more comfortable. And yet at school, you're not using it. You're using pen and paper, and you're supposed to sort of think, especially when it comes to when you're doing English, and you're supposed to think about as something, and then you're writing it down. But the fact that you're not speaking it first, I think, is really important. And when I used to speak to Ellie about what I was going to do with my social media for the next week, I'd be sat with a pen and paper, nothing comes out. I'd have a Zoom with Ellie and literally blah, 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 blah. I mean, just endless amounts of stuff. But because I only started thinking when I speak. And someone said that's a thing. Some people think better when they write, some people think better when they talk. And my mind only starts when I start to talk, weirdly.
And I don't think you're alone in that. There's loads of people who work that way. And certainly there are lots of people who struggle in school because they could talk their ideas, they could talk a 10,000 word essay out, and they could be passionate about that, but as soon as you put a pen in their hand, it just falls to bits. Like that's a common thing for people, and one of the issues I think sometimes people feel about education at the moment. So it's about finding the way that works for you. And luckily now, as adults, we have the privilege of being able to work in worlds that suit us and have careers that work with our wonky brains or our different brains, and we can shape our processes to get the best out of us. Yeah. I think sometimes, particularly in corporate worlds, maybe there's conventions that people feel they have to adhere to. And certainly there's a lot of let's get the script written and then we can do the slides.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just think it's the wrong way around.
Definitely.
So I feel like, and again, there's exceptions to every rule, because sometimes you have to deliver stuff that aren't your ideas or whatever it is. But I do think if you are becoming a speaker for podcasts or you're pitching or presenting or whatever it is, you have to go like voice first. Like, what do I want to say? How do I want the people listening to feel when I speak? And what does that mean for the writing? And what does that mean for the delivery? Yeah. And you don't have to sit with a pen and paper and type. I wrote most of my whole book with reading it, like speaking it into a transcription app and then tidying it up. Wow. Because as soon as I sit down at the desk, I'm like, I should definitely do my tax return, or I should definitely do the laundry or anything.
Yeah, because it puts you in a different frame of mind, doesn't it?
Right.
Which is why every time I come on a Thursday, I arrive for filming, and I've always said, I've pulled over somewhere in the car, because it's when I'm in the car and I've started thinking, and I use voice at the same constant so that when I'm in the car I can do the same thing. But it's always then. If you put me with it, in front of it, especially in front of a computer, laptop, I'm just don't think at all. Pen and paper, much more so. But it's when I'm doing something else, like driving, and then I have to pull over and start speaking into an
idea for a show. It's like Alan Partridge. You see that? I love it.
I've almost forgot. We've got a new.
Monkey tennis. Sorry.
You don't know about. We've got a new section for the show.
Oh God.
Which is Amelia's Ask. Amelia from downstairs, because we're always talking about together and bantering about the guests, right? So this is Amelia's Ask, and I don't know what it is. She's just given me this card. I have no idea what this question is.
Oh, so there's a question on the other side.
A question on the other side of Amelia's Ask.
Oh my God.
Okay. If you had a theme tune that played every time you entered the room, what would it be?
That's great.
Do I think about this a lot? Because
Do you? Who? Honestly, who else would say that?
Because you know
I
why?
think about this a lot.
This is so bad because this would never happen, but I think about it a lot because there's a lot of comedians in my life, right? And they do lots of amazing things, and you know, every now and again one of them will be on Live at the Apollo or whatever it is, and I think they get music when they walk on, don't they? And I was like, if my life had gone the other sliding doors route and I had stayed in comedy and got onto Live at the Apollo, what would I have chosen as my as if that would ever have happened? But you know what I mean? 60 pounds at the Frog and Bucket or whatever versus anyway. I was like, what would I choose? Like, what would I walk onto at Live at the Apollo? So I do think about this
So
quite a lot.
what was it? Or has there been a few? Does it depend on how you feel?
Yeah, I mean, some days it could be Kate Bush. I know you've got a lot of strength left. Just shut me crying about it. No. I'll stop or you'll get stung for PRS or whatever.
Oh, I swear.
Because that was so good, such a good rendition. They'd be like, why is Kate Bush on this podcast?
That's if Kate Bush is on in the car. That is literally at the top of my voice.
Oh, it's so great.
Okay,
Such a good
who's listening?
cathartic.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think I'm quite a hair metal, hair rock kind of gal. Don't know if you can tell. And I'm really vibing with Do You Want to Taste It? Wigwam.
What's that again? You're gonna have to sing it now. Sorry.
Do you really want to taste it? It's like
Do you
it's a
know
big
that?
rock song.
Why have I
Just
never even
headbanged
heard
on
of
a
it?
I've never done that before on a podcast.
I've never had anyone headbang yet.
Or there's another one, and they're both actually because not that we really enjoyed the show, but the soundtrack's banging. Oh, that's 1
Does that mean it's
o'clock.
1 o'clock? Why do you have that every hour?
I don't know. This was my brother's watch, and it appeared in my house, and now I wear it.
How long have you been wearing it for?
It just keeps beeping, and I don't know.
Like, do we mean months or years?
Months. I don't
And
know.
it tells you every time.
Beep, beep, beep. Yeah, it keeps beeping on the air. You could probably turn it off, but I'm scared to touch the buttons in case I make it beep more.
That's hilarious.
It's fine until it's like 4 a.m. and then I'm like... and it's really annoying if my son wakes up at like 5:59 and I'm like, shh, it's the middle of the night. Shh, it's the middle of the night. And he'll be like, it'll go beep, beep, and he'll go, what hour is it? It's 6. Fine, we can get up. So something real rocky, probably.
Yeah.
So I was talking about this. We were watching this show with John Cena, superhero thing. Can't remember the name. Oh, my husband will kill me. Anyway, season 1. The theme tune was "Do You Want to Taste It" by Wigwam.
I'm gonna have to listen
Absolutely
to it.
banging song.
Look it up now.
Yeah.
And season 2, another banging theme tune, which was... Shall I find it? Just so you can know, because I want to answer the question properly.
We can't even just play it.
No, you can't.
It's rubbish.
Let me check. Liked songs. How do I navigate this? Let's watch a mum do tech for a minute. What's happening here? There we go.
What accent was that?
That was I don't know. My mum's. A Shot at Redemption by Heat.
I don't know that either. I'll probably if I listen to it, but we're not allowed to listen to it, no, because it'll...
When can I play it? I could just play it for you now.
Yeah.
Shall I?
Go on.
We'll cut it. It's a real good song. You'll have to put a different song over the top.
That either. I might need to hear the chorus.
It really smacks in a moment. You want to hear me in this car singing this? Right, so that's one.
Recognise it. But I can absolutely see you just black.
Or actually, there's more. This was also in there. Do you know Faith No More?
I love Faith No More.
Yeah.
3, 4
Oh my
times.
God.
Love it.
So
It would be the middle of this.
Okay.
And that's it.
such a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, live at the Apollo. So probably that.
I went to see Guns N' Roses back in whenever it was. At a Sky School. I think we were about 14.
Oh wow.
Guns, Faith No More and Soundgarden
saw
were
that at
supporting.
Wembley.
Were you
I was
there?
at Wembley, the same one, yeah.
Wow.
It was amazing.
The closest I've got was Leonard Skinnard at the Sage at the Glass House. My dad got the tickets. We got him for his birthday. He was like, I got A1, 2, 3, and 4. Are those good tickets? I was like, Dad, that's right next to the speaker bank. And I swear to God, I've had tinnitus ever since. They literally gave me a plectrum like halfway through, and I've like framed it for my dad with a picture of us and everything. But I've like in my ear ever since. Seen Leonard Skinnard, and I've seen Bon Jovi live. That was amazing. Mainly because he fully looked me in the eye, obviously the whole way through, and wanted me to run away with him, but I couldn't.
He serenaded you.
He's got a family.
Yeah.
But it was definitely speaking to me all the way through.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's really, really emotional, intimate at Liverpool Football Stadium.
Even I remember going to see Metallica at Whitley Bay Ice Rink. So funny. I was convinced as well, though. I was like, they definitely were looking at me there. Can I just say, I love you, by the way.
Did you still recording? Great.
Yeah.
I just thank you for being so unbelievably
okay.
open and honest, and you're just incredibly cool, and the value from that is I literally could just pick your brains for an entire week and never get sick
So
of asking
fascinating.
questions.
You know where I am.